What is up, everybody? It's me, Duke Farley, back at it again here on Lost at Sea. And tonight we are talking a little Ascendance Live Season 4, Episode 5. And I am here with friend of the podcast, friend of the channel, Scott Link. Scott, what is up? How are you? How have you been, man?
I am good. It's good to be here for my recap with you. Episode 5, I can't believe it. It feels like we just got started. And honestly, I'm a little hungover. I had a Friendsgiving yesterday, so I'm pushing through today.
Listen, that it happens. Was the Friendsgiving good? Was the spread elite?
It was great. Very good. I have a whole bucket that I'm about to dive into after this. So if I'm a little
Scott,
distracted, that's probably why.
Scott, there's nothing better than leftover Thanksgiving food the next day, right?
I can't think of anything.
Maybe this episode of Ascendance Live. I don't know. What a
It's
what a
like
what a great segue. What an episode. So much to talk about. Let's start off the top, Scott. We were introduced to a new draft scoring system at the top of the season that included tiers. If you cried, you lost points. And we had some criers this episode. What is going on in the house? It's so emotional, huh?
the emotions are amok. People are crying left and right. To be honest, I'm having trouble keeping track of it. I had to do a few rewatches on some of those scenes this week to try to see who was actually crying and who wasn't. So hopefully I got it. Hopefully I got it right.
Listen, I think we tallied four people who shed tears this episode. Does that sound right?
I
Obviously,
think
both of the husbands.
we got all five. I think I'm looking at
Five.
this little spreadsheet now. I think we hit all five for the first time this season.
Now, I know that this is something that you've done in Survivor for past seasons. Has it ever happened where five people cried in one episode, or is this a record?
It's not a record. Last season, season 44 Survivor, a lot of tears. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
was there, so you know that people were crying.
Of
It's a
course.
first in Ascendance, though. Ascendance fantasy. We have our first tier. The tier of tears have all been filled this episode.
I think that's an accomplishment. And let's get into, what sparked those tears. First of all, big fight. Big fight between, Michael and Matt over the power that was already claimed in episode 1, that they're fighting over, a locked box that was opened. People, Michael maybe accusing Matt maybe accusing Michael. We don't really know, but what are you making of this? Who came out on top here? Obviously, a little foreshadowing. We lost Matt at the end of the episode, but in this specific fight, who do you think looked better?
Well, the true winner of the fight was probably the audience.
Of course.
I I'm not sure that there really was a winner. I think that fighting this early isn't a great look for anyone. I think Matt probably came away from the fight looking a little bit better because I think that the blame on as to who was more likely to have the power would be Michael, and being that Matt went home and didn't give up anything, I think people will assume that Michael might still have something, which he does have something, just not that. So
Right.
might really come to bite him, but he does have some cushion with having that extra power. The Ascendance power, I believe, is what he has. So he at least has some weapons to protect himself in this arena. But I think that Matt probably came out looking better post fight.
Say that this fight did not happen. The box was not there. Nobody gets into an argument. Do you think Matt still goes home in this specific situation?
Yeah, I do think that he'd still go home. I think that my opinion of Matt, when we were first checking out after the first episode, I was like, oh, he's coming in really aggressive and really playing hard. And I don't think that he was really seen doing a lot of the stuff that he was doing at first, but he didn't let loose. Like, he didn't let up on how prominent he was playing. And I think people sniffed it out really quickly. And I think it's probably just nerves, like jitters, being that this is his first live game or first game that he's playing, that he wants to team TV, he wants to be doing stuff. And I think that he was doing a lot, but people clocked him. And I think that he had done too much to really reverse it.
Yeah. We see, four people throw votes onto Michael just because of speculation that Matt has this power. Um, what do you think of Michael? His long-term value in this game. Do you think that he's in kind of hot water now that his name's been written down 4 times? People are accusing him of potential. Not many people really think he had anything, but he got in a fight, a public argument here.
I it could go two different ways, I think. Because his name's already been out there, it's just going to be easy for people to keep saying it, and that's a tough trend to break. But I do think that he was able to put a lot of people were able to put trust in him, and he was malleable to being like, I understand that I'm getting votes tonight, but I have trust in you guys. And I think that he was able to build some trust with some people. But being that his name's out there already, and there is a thing called getting Michael Davis. I
Yeah.
have my hopes up for him, but I mean, you don't get a verb like that named after you, like being a lucky guy. So I do have a little bit of trepidation about his long stance in the game, like how long he's going to last.
Yeah. What we keep getting confessionals here from Eric, Michael's partner, about, Michael not
Also,
doing great.
not making me feel great about Michael.
Yeah, it's like I know Michael, the box I think was not really his fault. Why? I mean, why are we trying to open the box in public? That's something to be debated, but he gets it open. But we keep seeing Eric just like kind of willing to cut ties with him in the DR, like at any wrong move he makes. So, what do you think of that? Do you think Eric wants to get him out soon?
I'm thinking that if I was Michael, I would have picked a different partner. I would be. I'm like, if I was Michael, I'd be texting me like, "What the fuck, dude? Why are you talking so much shit about me?" Not making me feel great about Michael either. And Michael's on my draft team, so I'm like, God damn it. um, but no, I think that it's a good way to be playing the game from Eric's standpoint. I mean, it is a duo season and you want to be able to work with your partner, but he's also has that mindset that he is going to adapt and move forward with or without him. So I think his head's in the right space to play an aggressive, good game. But I mean, loyalty is everything. And if you're willing to cut your partner, then it might not bode too well for him if he's publicly talking about that, which I don't think he has been. I don't remember that, but I don't know. These
There's
confessionals, man, cutting him up.
I think there's been a couple instances where Eric has been just kind of alluding to the fact, like, if Michael's eliminated, I'm okay with Jim being my partner, or it might be good for me to people in public. Do you think that people will read that the wrong way? Like you're kind of saying, like loyalty is everything. If he's willing to kind of just let his partner go, like what does that say about Eric?
It would be a red flag for me if I was in the game and he was saying that for sure. Because like, again, if you're willing to let go of your partner, then who am I? Like,
Right.
so that would be a red flag for me, but nothing's really gained any traction uh, for them to kind of go against him, but only time will tell.
We will get to Eric in a little bit, but and his side of the vote, because he was one of the names that got written down. But do you think it was the right move for the people that were at this vote to get Matt out here? Yeah, do you think Michael versus Matt, for the people that were voting, do you think that was the right play to get Matt here?
Mm, I guess I mean it really just depends on who you are, but I think that it was a good play because they had been winning a lot of the competitions, and I feel like they hadn't really a majority of the house didn't feel super great about them. Obviously, they with all the votes that he did end up getting. So I think that had they not gotten rid of Matt here, I think that it would have been an eye opener for him, and I think that we would have seen a big shift in his gameplay. I do think that Jim is about to become a prominent gamer. I think we talked about this pregame too. Of the two of them, he was the one that I thought was more likely to sit back and assess and be the better player. And so I think that with Matt gone, Jim's gonna amp up. And I think that had Matt not gone here, he would have realized he was playing too hard and shifted his game completely. And I think that had he got past this one, he would have snuck pretty deep into the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it just interested to see how Jim kind of works his way back in because we do get a couple of scenes of Christopher maybe not really liking that his partner was going to be Jim, but I think it'll be fine for him, right?
I think that it will be too. I think that they're an interesting duo because I don't think that they necessarily play the same. So Christopher is a tough one for me to read. I don't really know how he's going to play this, but I think that as a duo, Jim is obviously capable of winning challenges, and Christopher getting some power might suit him well to set up his game long term.
Yeah. And Christopher was, eligible to be voted out in his vote, but it seemed like he was more interested in trying to save his partner on the other side, Chris Yu, which to no avail, obviously. We see Chris Yu leave 9-1. But what did you think of Christopher trying to save Chris and then it working in the opposite way?
It's kind of funny because Christopher was working so hard and his partner went home, and then you have Eric who was like, you can vote him off. Like,
Yeah.
maybe vote Michael. Like and then Michael stayed. So I think that it was interesting. I think that I want to say that they were saying that Chris Yu wasn't trying to save himself as aggressively as Christopher. So I think that it rubbed people the wrong way. Like he almost didn't care that much about it. So I think that that ultimately hurt Chris Yu. It makes me think about like for Christopher to save himself in the future, people are gonna see what's going on. Like they can see that part of his game. So it makes me feel a little bit nervous if Chris's name is on the chopping block in the future. That I'm not sure that he'll be able to save himself.
I was going to be a little bit worried throughout the episode that the narrative was Christopher was trying to save Chris Yu so much that he ends up not really he gets cut in his own vote. I thought that's the way it was going to go, but obviously these huge targets of Michael and Matt out there in the public, I think saved him from that.
Yeah, the timing of that was definitely good for him.
Yeah. Let's talk about Chris Yu. 9-1 here. It seems like early on his name was out there, but there was some sort of push for Eric here at the end, but obviously not enough. Was there anything Chris you could have done from the get-go? Do you think that could have saved him in this scenario? It seems like he wanted to go after Grace early on, and that was shut down pretty early on.
Well, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
I'm really not sure. The cards are definitely stacked against him because I'm just looking at Chris Yu, Eric, Grace, Josh. That's a tough group of four to really push. I think that pushing it onto Eric was the best move that he could have done, but it was just a tough team that he got set up on. I think that if he were able to save himself, it would have been because of connections that he had made previous rounds. And I mean, I just didn't really see much of his game at all. So I really don't know what he could have done.
Yeah,
It just,
it kind of just shook out the way it did. Unfortunately for him. Obviously, do the exit interviews with him. So I just spoke to him prior to this call, and you can check that out on the channel as well. See what he was thinking in that specific situation.
did he feel like he could have done anything different?
He kind of was along. He did not watch his episode
Oh,
because he just didn't want to watch it. Totally understand. But once I told him about his exit speech, he was and that it made the episode where he, tells people, fuck you, fuck you. He's going to watch it. So he'll probably get back to me and tell me what he thinks. But yeah, he thinks that definitely could have put himself out there a little bit more. And maybe that would have been the move to go for Eric, is basically what we were saying. But Scott, I wanted to talk to you about the captains in this situation. Rachel and Erica, what a great time to win. You
mhm.
avoid 2 eliminations. What did you think of their strategy? It seems like they kind of stepped back and let the votes kind of play out as they did. Um, you think that was the right move?
I do. I do think that's the right move. I think that they are definitely already sitting in a good position. Winning this one, especially being that it's people getting voted off and the hecticness of the votes, I think that they were really able to secure a lot of trust with a lot of different people. So I think that they're setting themselves up well for future rounds. And I know that they were establishing a 5-person alliance that I think looks pretty powerful as well. And yeah, I think that they're definitely front runners right now for me. They're playing a little laid back, go with the flow, and I think that that's the spot to be in right now, being that there's still so many people left. But I think that I could see both of them coming alive and really running away with this game.
You mentioned the 5-person alliance, Chris G, Adam, um, the two of them, and then somebody else is in that. Adam's partner's name is
Taylor,
Taylor. So they are, a 5. Do you
favorite.
our favorite? Do you think that has legs?
I do. I do think that it does. I think that, well, hopefully, because they showed it to us, they're just tricking us as they have done to me in the past. I'm like, oh, that's definitely gonna be a problem thing. And then like the next episode not brought up and then just never seen again.
Fizzles out. Yeah.
Yep. They get me every time. I do think that it will though. I think that those 5 are really good gamers from what I've assessed. I think that they are good in their own, and I think that together they'll see that they're kind of sitting in a position where they're not being targeted yet. So I think that they'll be able to kind of behind the scenes puppet master and figure out the direction of the game without people really clocking them.
Right. Do you think that another thing that I spoke with Chris Yu about is Chris G? It seemed like Chris G was really, vocal about voting out Chris Yu, and he wanted to be the only Chris left. Obviously, we still have Christopher, so he has one more person to get rid of for that. But do you think Chris G is starting to play a little bit too much in the pushing his narrative of what he wants, or do you think, no, if nobody's going to do it, it's fine?
It's tough because the people in this game, I think a lot of them are kind of laying back right now, as I feel like is a good strategy. So he can get away with it at the moment. And I really am impressed with Stacy, and being that that's his partner, I think that she has a lot of agency. So I think that he is able to do it because he has the protection of her. And I think that she has a lot of say in the house. So I think that he's getting away with it right now. And I think that he can lay off and kind of float back into the background safely. But if he does it right, I think that he can keep pushing it and become the next target. Or if he kind of pumps the brakes a little bit, I think that he'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think Chris G, super self-aware, it seems like. So I think he'll be able to kind of figure out when he's doing too much, when he's not. And I think this 5-person alliance is great for Chris G right now. So excited to see how that blossoms. But Scott,
I wonder why they left Stacy out, because it's 2 pairs and him. I guess
exactly. Yeah.
they're the first new pair, but I don't love it for my girl Stacy.
What's up with that? Why not just get her in the mix?
I'm pissed at them.
Maybe the bed was just too small at that point and can only fit
Honestly,
5.
They weren't fitting anyone else in that bed, let's be honest. So I think we figured it out.
That's why. Scott, we mentioned at the top that there was a lot of people crying. I know the husbands cried. It was emotional, obviously a deep connection there. Matt's gone, Jim's on his own, but now partnered up with Chris. But in the background there, I think we saw Billy crying. Were you surprised Billy shed some tears here?
No, to be honest. Would you cry?
No, I don't think I would. I don't think I would cry.
I'd be like, oh, that'd be the most that you would get out of me, I think.
But I was thinking, like, also Scott, I was thinking like they are pretty close within the vicinity of one another, like on the property. It's not like, you're not gonna actually miss them. You're right next door.
Well, I don't know. I'm not married, so maybe it's just something that I don't know that kind of love yet. But no, I'm not surprised that Billy cried. I know that he cried last season, and I think because he was talking about how he like kind of came out because of the org community, and that was an opportunity for him to really find himself. And so I think that that's maybe looking at like a light into his own future, watching someone that two people that are married, the husband's getting torn apart by a game. He sees
Damn,
himself at that moment, his future himself.
that's a great point. That's a great point. I didn't think about that. Who else cried, Scott? We have 5 people that we have down. Um, did Christopher cry?
He did, yeah. Whenever Chris was leaving,
Okay.
during the speech, he shed a tear for his fallen comrade. And then I think that who was the other one? Well, there was I think it was maybe Erica or Stacy. I have to
Yeah.
rewatch to make sure that the points are correct, but
Uh,
there were a bunch of tears shed. And I think it was just because it was an emotional moment, both in Chris, you had a great speech. And so I think people were really moved by it. And then just watching a couple be torn apart.
yeah.
People couldn't hold it together.
I'm thinking back through all the eliminations so far, and everybody has cried at their partner. I remember Blaker being eliminated, Stacy was crying. This past episode, both people crying at their partners being, ripped out of the game from them. What does that say about Chris G? I don't think he cried at all about Alex leaving.
Heartless. That's what
Heartless.
it and the flash to both of us being like, I wouldn't cry. I think that for Chris G, he is, as he said, self-aware. I think his head's in the game, and I think that Alex was more of an anchor than he was more of an anchor to that duo as compared to a lot of the other teams. So I think that Chris G saw it as a good thing for his game. So that's probably why he was a little less emotional.
Scott, we have 16 competitors left in the game. So that means 8 duos. Uh, who is in the best spot, do you think?
It's a tough one. I think that we already mentioned the Rachel and Erica. I think that they're sitting really well. The other team that I think is just sleepers, and this is of no surprise to me, but the orange team, Eli and Taisha,
Yeah.
they are, I feel like they're always in the swing vote position. And I think that Taisha just keeps voting for Adam, which is silly. And I think
Do you
that
like that? Do you like that, Scott? She keeps
I
still
love
doing
it.
that.
I love it. And I think it's just funny because like she has no reason to. She's like, Adam. Like, and I think that it's funny because I think Taylor and Adam are a duo that is sitting really well, but I don't think that that's something that Adam will let continue to happen over and over again and just be like cool about it. Eventually he's gonna be like, what the hell? Who is doing this? Who's doing this to me? And I can just picture him getting pissed and like Taisha just sitting back being like,
I don't
this
know.
is exactly what I wanted to happen.
Um, we talked about, those 2 duos being in a good position. Um, who's not in a good position? Who might be going home soon?
I think I do like Billy a lot, but I just feel like that season 3 drama hasn't bubbled up yet, and I think that that's something that's definitely going to be coming. And I think that Josh having Aaron as a partner is going to really, really help him get past any of the drama that comes from that. So of that duo, I think that people feel bad about Adam and how he did previously. So I don't think that they would target him as much. And I think that Aaron is better suited for assisting in protecting her partner over Grace. So I think that Billy isn't in a great position once that season 3 drama starts coming up. And I could see people from season 1, Erica Tide, kind of setting that into motion. Because I do think that some of these returners are they need to go in order to protect other returners. People are going to start clocking that we need to get some returners out. And I think that that's whenever the season 3 is going to get pushed.
I'm surprised that it hasn't happened up to this point. We've seen 4 newbies be eliminated. There was some push early on for, Billy, and Adam, but from Matt, but now he's gone. Who's going to push against these returnees, or are the returnees going to push against one another at some point?
I think that I think they're going to push against one another, and I think that they're all just kind of waiting for the ball to drop. Because once it happens, what is it? Once something comes out of the box, you can't put it back in. I can't remember. There's some
That
saying.
sounds right.
Okay. There's like a very specific saying that's not coming to mind, but that's what I think is going to happen. Once one returnee gets targeted, the war is on, and I think that that's what a lot of these newbies are probably waiting for, because if you can get past that, it's like the challenge, like on MTV. I think that they just do newbie, and then at a certain point, the vets start going after each other. And then if you're a newbie that made it past that, you kind of have a safer, easier road to get far. So I think that it's going to happen sooner rather than later, because the vets are going to get tired of each other, and then the newbies will start being able to push for it a little bit more.
What makes you say that Adam or Josh is better suited with his partner Aaron as opposed to Billy and Grace? You don't think Grace can pull the kind of numbers that Aaron can?
I'm just really impressed with Aaron right now. I think that they both seem very likable, but I see more of a gamer side in Aaron. I think that they're both really great social players, but I think I see Aaron as someone that's better at utilizing her social connections in a game sense. I think that Grace is someone that isn't going to get targeted because she's well liked, but I think that Aaron's going to be well liked and be like, okay, this is what I can manipulate. I can manipulate the game with these relationships in this way. And so that's why I'm thinking that Josh will be more protected.
Yeah, because I think you're right, and I think we saw a conversation between Jim and Grace this episode actually, where Jim was kind of laying out some future plans, and Grace was kind of responded with, "I'm just here one round at a time, basically. I just want to survive this vote, basically." So
Feels like a
I
no. She's like,
yeah, which is fun.
so nice with her accent. It's like, oh, she
Okay.
said no, it's fine.
Um, but I was gonna say that what was I gonna say? Something about um yeah, I think that's accurate. But I wanted to ask you, who can you see taking the first shot at who? I think you mentioned Billy. Do you think that's the person who's gonna get the shot taken at first? Because I mean, in his season, Josh does take the shot at him, but do you think Billy will maybe try to get ahead of that?
I foresee history repeating itself.
God
I
damn.
think that I think that Josh will do it first, because he's just a villain. You know that he's a hero this season, but I'm like, dude, you're not. It's not the truth, man. Like we were saying, Chris G is self-aware. I think Josh is also self-aware, and he's gonna be like, you know what? I'm not a hero. I'm gonna take Billy out. That's what I think is gonna happen, and I think that in that moment between Josh and Billy, Josh is going to be way cooler. I don't really see Billy as like a cool, calm, collected player. I think that his name gets thrown out and he will explode a little bit, and it won't bode well for him in the eyes of the other contestants.
Yeah, which I pray is not the case, but I do think that maybe history does repeat itself here soon.
And he has the pendant, right? So even if Billy does come after him, it'll be like a he'll get all the votes on him, and then it's like a actually I have a pendant, so you're still going home, Billy. Sorry.
How brutal would that be?
I mean, I can't say that I don't see it happening. Like I could definitely
Yeah.
see it happening. But Ascendance
Uh,
is a game, you know.
yeah. Yeah. Where does Michael go from here, Scott? Michael, people think maybe he has this public power. He does have a secret power. Do you foresee him making it much farther?
I want him to, because he's on my draft team. And plus, I really like Michael. We played in Ascendance 5 together, and he got Michael Davis there as well. So I have high
Heard.
hopes that he's able to maneuver out of this, but I don't know who prioritizes him. You know what I mean? He is someone that people will work with, but I don't see a lot of these contestants putting him at the top of their lists as to who they are going deep with.
Yeah.
He kind of bounce around hopefully and make it far, but I think that he really needs to ingratiate himself with a couple people to really have a long lasting game. Like he really needs people to put him first, and I have my doubts that that's what is going to happen.
Yeah. Well, the game is ever changing, and I think that, two rounds in a row, maybe something shakes out in his favor, and bing, bang, boom, he's right in a great position again.
I think that what he needs to do is win some challenges. Like he needs to become a captain and solidify something whenever he has the power and safety. Maybe make a big move that protects someone and that puts them, they're like, all right, now we're working together. Um, I think that's ultimately what would work out best for him. So I don't really know. Is he good at challenges? Is he going to be able to pull out the captain's challenge? I think that if he's able to do that, he can solidify some things.
Yeah. Well, Scott, we will have to see. I appreciate you so much for taking the time to talk about Ascendance live. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we close out here?
I guess what are your thoughts about these duos? Do you think that we're gonna ever break away from having the duos?
I do think so. I think it's going to follow the same pattern as the Org did season 4, the season before you played, was a duo season, and they did half returners, half non-Ascendance players, similar to this. I want to say around when there was 11 or 10 people left, it split into individuals, which is what I would assume happens here. Um, maybe or maybe final 12, I would say. So I say maybe 4 more people get eliminated in the duo phase and then they break it up. But
I mean,
what do you think?
I don't know. I don't have a thought on it. That's why I was asking you. I'm just
Well,
trying to
that's my
get
answer.
information as a viewer and see what I can figure out here. But
That's
no,
the historic route.
yeah, I definitely think that it won't be forever, but I personally, I would be ready for it to be. Myself and Eric probably are the two that are the most excited to see the duos end.
Right. Um, do you not like this duo twist? It's kind of confusing round to round, right?
I I don't hate it. I don't know. I want to see people break away from like you're always going to have alliances and you're going to have duos within the game, but having it be like you're tethered to this person, I think that it makes it a little bit harder to set up the teams in ways that you can target who you want to target, because it's like if you and I are partners and I want to target me and you, I would want to like build my team. I would want to build a team where like two people are at the bottom that I want to target. But if they're partners, I can't really do that. So I think that it takes away from the strategy of the team making. And so that's
Yeah.
why I personally want to see what happens whenever they get rid of it, whenever that ends.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't think we've seen team picking where the captains were able to kind of finagle it in a way that they could specifically set up a target like that,
Right.
which is what makes the regular Ascendance format so much fun. Um, but maybe I don't know. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know when it's going to happen.
Yeah. And we can't get the blood, like the gut wrenching Eric voting off Michael moments whenever the teams are set up like this. We can't have anyone backstab their partner. We
Exactly.
want that mom, like I voting off my mom moment, like on Survivor.
We
Like,
could have that.
yeah, we want Grace to cut Billy. Like we want to see we want to see these family dramas just like happen on our screen. And we can't have that with the way that it's set up now.
The husbands being ripped apart wasn't good enough for you.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it, but
Oh my
but
goodness.
I need more.
Yes, yes. Well, Scott, hopefully we get more in the coming weeks. But thank you so much for taking the time to do the episode recap. I appreciate it.
Of course, looking forward to the rest of the season, and your recaps are always a favorite part of my week.